everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Right now, the big controversy is about Mandriga Act, an act that was passed in 2005 as a bill that promotes in India the right to work, which provides rural people opportunities to find some wage employment. But today, suddenly, the Indian government has planned to change it, not just to rename it, but in fact to change it from its core. The spirit of Mandriga is now being transformed. From a job guarantee, from a demand-oriented job scheme to now a supply-side government-based welfare scheme, it is in controversy because people are asking a question. Does the Indian government, by changing Mandriga, is indicating a defeat of the very value of federalism in India? Or are we looking at the entitlement to find work opportunity as something for which people should be given welfare from the government? It is no more a right. And that's the controversy, but it all is related to Article 41 of the Indian Constitution. Now do remember, Article 41 is not a fundamental right. In India, we do not say that right to work is a specific fundamental right. It's not. Therefore, Article 41 is something that's related to DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, which means, yes, people have a right to work, and the government of India should, as a part of its devotion towards constitutional morality, think of providing people avenues and opportunities of work, assistance in some special cases. That's what Indian government should do. But then why are we today defeating the purpose of Article 41 by changing Mandriga, by saying that right to work is not a right anymore? That's the controversy here. So let's quickly try to understand what has been going on. Now, the whole idea stems from Article 23 of UDHR. We are talking about Universal Declaration of Human Rights, United Nations. Under the UDHR, there is a provision called Article 23, which says that workers across the world have a fundamental right. A right that includes the right to work, the right to free choice of employment, equal pay for equal work, the right to form trade unions or associations. Yes, people have it as a right under United Nations. Now, please do not confuse with Article 23 of the Indian Constitution. Today morning, in the Hindu class at 9:30 a.m., we have discussed in detail Indian Constitution Article 23, which is a very important right and which talks about how we completely prohibit beggary and human trafficking. That's what it deals with. Remember, we have spoken about it today in the light of a Supreme Court verdict which says that Supreme Court is dismayed and very unhappy at the fact that child trafficking, especially sexual trafficking and organ harvesting, still continues. In that backdrop, we have spoken about Indian Constitution Article 23, but right now, for the purpose of Mandriga, for the purpose of right to work, we are not talking about Indian Constitution Article 23. I am discussing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You have an Article 23 here which tells people that yes, they have a fundamental right to work. Now, looking at India, yes, India does not give a fundamental dedicated right to work, but then there is an Article 41 in the Directive Principles of State Policy, which says that yes, the government has to provide people right to work, opportunities of work and public assistance. These are moral guidelines that the government should follow. After all, in India, we believe in constitutional morality, a principle given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of Indian Constitution, who always said that our constitution is a living document. I had explained in the Hindu news class that how Sir B.N. Rao had created a draft of the constitution, but people say it was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar who put soul and spirit in that draft by giving us the logic, the principle of constitutional morality. Very crucial for GS paper 4 ethics as well. So under Article 41, DPSP, if there is a right to work, then there is another article in the Indian Constitution called the right to life. Article 21 itself, the most important right. And in one of the very important Supreme Court cases, the Olga Tellis case, long back the Supreme Court had said that right to secure a livelihood, right to find work is quite an essential aspect of the right to life itself, that's Article 21. That too, a person cannot live with dignity without earning a basic wage, a basic income. So today we are asking a very fundamental question, that if Article 41 of the Constitution gives you the right to work, if Article 21 subsumes right to work, if there is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that says finding livelihood is your fundamental right, then today, why did the Indian government choose to change Mandriga 2005? What happened and why did things go wrong? Because in India we say that under Mandriga Scheme 2005, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. The word guarantee means that here it is the duty of the government to provide sources of income to people. Yes, and therefore it did promise right to work to rural citizens of India, because under Mandriga, the government guarantees or assures 100 days of unskilled manual work per year to the people from rural areas who are eligible to work and who are willing to work. Now, this work will be done at a basic minimum salary that's pre-decided by the government. It has to be a decent minimum floor wage. And what's the idea behind this? The objective was to provide employment to rural citizens to ultimately economically empower them. And the work that shall be provided is very nearby the residence of the individual. Supposedly, it should be about 5 kilometers within the radius of individual's household, so that people do not have to travel too much. And in case people are traveling far away to find such work, the government does provide some kind of travel allowance so that they can be mobile enough to reach their workplace. It is a highly decentralized system, Mandriga, because Panchayati Raj institutions that were initiated in India back in 1992. So whenever we talk about PRI, automatically we look at 1992, 73rd, 74th Amendment Act. We talk about the 11th schedule of the Constitution, yes. So, Panchayati Raj system is a key part of implementing Mandriga. It has a key role. Gram Sabhas have a very crucial role to play when it comes to planning, implementing and monitoring, allocating funds and executing the scheme called Mandriga. That means it is equal to the right to work. It's the biggest living example in India that we strongly believe in Article 41, the right to work. Why? Because if people are not given work within 15 days of promise, then they are entitled to something called unemployment allowance. They will have to be given some compensation by the government. And this allowance should be at least 1/4 amount of the minimum wage that is set for the first 30 days and half for the following period under Mandriga scheme. Then there is a provision of social auditing. Section 17 of Mandriga also says we will provide social auditing, proper surveillance of all the work done under Mandriga. Because the government realized that ultimately at the rural level, at the grassroots level, there are sometimes challenges, bureaucratic hurdles, caste and gender barriers, the government planned to digitize the whole scheme. It was back in 2023 that the government decided to create a national mobile monitoring software application, under which all the attendance of workers under Mandriga was then done online. Agreed, there are certain controversies here. Controversies regarding updating the data, putting a live photo vis-a-vis putting a previous photo and misleading the government. That's a different story altogether. We had covered that in Hindu. But looking at it practically, the purpose is to digitize attendance twice a day so that we know that the real beneficiaries are getting advantage of the Mandriga policy. Under Mandriga, let's understand work was demand driven. People are demanding the government to provide them work, and any rural household member who is ready to do unskilled blue-collar job. Now, please understand the work here typically corresponds to the informal sector of the economy, because these are semi-skilled, unskilled employees. Yes, we have discussed in detail the difference between formal sector of the economy, white-collar jobs, and the informal sector of the economy that's unregulated, that doesn't fall under the taxation ambit, no social welfare policy. We speak about the Social Security Code 2020. Remember? The Shram Shakti Niti. Yes. So typically unskilled work corresponds to informal sector. You can say blue collar work, pink collar work, grey collar work. All these are then works provided under the informal sector. So under Mandriga also, we will provide to the rural poor people opportunities of unskilled manual work. Yes, but that was based on demanded employment. People have a right to work, so the government will provide them work. The government was legally obliged to provide either work, and if it fails to do that, unemployment allowance, if the work is not provided on time. This made the government answerable to people under Mandriga. So therefore, we can say Mandriga is a right-based, demand-based responsive program. It's a pro-people policy. Today, what happened? Today, suddenly, as the government changes this and renames it into the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin, that's rural, everything seems to be changing. Now, the government says the state governments will have to share the funding under the new scheme in the ratio of 60-40, with a special exemption being given to hilly states. There the central government will finance up to 90%. But typically all the average states will have to bear 40% of the funding under this new bill. Another problem. Now the government is not seeing employment guarantee as a demand-based approach. In fact, it has now become a supply-based or normative supply-driven model where the government decides how much work to give, how much funding to provide, and the government says, instead of 100 days of assured labor under Mandriga, now under the new bill, we will provide 125 days of work per year. On paper, it looks like, wow, there is an increase in the total number of days. But people and experts are saying that even under Mandriga, most people could not get 100 days of labor. It was just on paper. It was a paper promise. In reality, people wouldn't get more than 50, 65 or maximum 70. And when you couldn't do that, then why are you upgrading the whole scheme by making a target of 125? Critics are saying you could have included the same policy under existing Mandriga. What was the need to completely revamp Mandriga and make it now into a supply-driven model? Now the government is trying to, in advance, fix a certain amount of budget that will be allocated for creating employment to each state. That means the state government is also losing its autonomy when it comes to implement the new program. Yes, the new program abbreviated as VBJGRAMG. Now each state therefore will get a fixed amount. There is no flexibility here. And the funding has become a controversial principle where the states will now finance for 40. That means 100% assistance by central government has now gone. It doesn't keep the central government responsible to people. If tomorrow the workers start demanding for more work, workers have no right now to legally force the government to increase the funding because the budget has been fixed already. There's nothing anybody can do. Therefore, from a very demand-driven, from a very pro-people approach in Mandriga, now we have moved towards an approach that is treating right to livelihood as welfare. Welfare for which people are helplessly depending on the government, where people have no right to demand or force the government to legally provide them any kind of job, and that's why it's becoming hugely controversial today. So what's your opinion on this issue? Do you think it was a valid move taken by the Indian government? Do you think the promise of increasing the labor period, the total number of working days has risen from 100 to 125? Do you think that's really going to help people in getting more jobs in reality? Or do you also believe that it is one such move where, in fact, from a demand-driven, we have shifted towards a supply-driven approach where people are not getting really empowered? So that's the big topic for the day. And quickly the practice question for you. With reference to the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission, look at these statements please. Under VBGRAM, employment generation is linked to predetermined budget allocation rather than open-ended response which depends on workers' demand. 2. Unlike Mandriga, the new bill VBGRAMG does not create a legally enforceable right to employment. And 3. The program continues the fully funded and fully demand-driven uncapped funding structure that existed, same like Mandriga? It's an easy question. If you have understood the topic, try to answer. And in the meantime, as you do, quickly tell me. Because in the morning in the Hindu class, we have spoken about it. So those who haven't joined yet, please do. Because every day we connect current affairs to existing static topics from constitution, history, geography, polity. So therefore, quickly answer my question and tell me. In that case, what is Article 51 AG of the Constitution related to? And in what context have we spoken about it in the news in the last 2 days? Quickly answer me in the comment box. I will provide clarity on this on Monday. That's when we are going to have the next Hindu class at 9:30 a.m. Do not forget Study IQ English. And a quick reminder to those who are appearing for UPSC 2026 exam. Time is running out. Prelims is on 24th May. With just 4 to 5 months to go. Here is something you can do to guarantee success. You can join the SIP program here because the price is very, very affordable. It's 5,999 to 7,999 depending on how many hours and how many exams and mock tests you are prepared to take. Should you join the course, we guarantee you not just a good preparation. We guarantee you selection in the prelims. Yes, that's a big promise I'm making. But provided you enroll today, because admissions are closing on 23rd, and how to apply for the course, use code SPLIVE, allow me to become a personal part of your UPSC preparation. Similarly, if you are targeting 2027, a throwaway price, it's a New Year's treat for you. At a price of 12,999, we provide complete prelims, mains, basic interview guidance, one-on-one mentorship, 24/7 helpline. No more tensions regarding books, material, notes, timetable, revision, because we do that for you at this price. Unbelievable, but true. But admissions are closing soon because the batch is starting on 26th December, right the next day of Christmas. So join quickly. For 28 also, start early to really be successful and take no risk, because the batch is starting 26th December. Whether it's Hindi, English or bilingual, we have all the answer for you. So use code SPLIVE, enroll today, and let Study IQ become the platform which tomorrow also guarantees you big UPSC success. Thank you.